The underlying worldview has a profound influence on the way you're going to think about that political and social issue. Now, the 19th century, as I said, was where most of this started. Darwin told us where we came from. Marx had a utopian and materialistic vision of the future about where we were going to end up. And Freud, early in the 20th century, told us what to do about our guilt. And so between these three great materialistic scientists, philosophers, or scientific philosophers, these different theories were answering all the basic questions that traditional Judeo-Christian belief had always answered, but in materialistic terms. And I think it's fair to say that we have seen the consequence of that through the 20th century and now into our own. Okay, I told you it was a somber opening, but now here's the good news. There is a tremendous change taking place in science and philosophy, and it's taking place at the highest levels of scientific and philosophical discourse. It's still controversial, it's still contentious, but what's driving it are major changes in philosophical thinking and also major discoveries that have been made in science. And I just want to tick off three with a brief description of each to get our conference going. Some of you who have read some of our books from Discovery Institute, if you've been kind enough to pick up a copy of my book at one point, you will be familiar with these three discoveries. The first is, and most unexpected, that the material universe had a beginning. You may remember the quotation from Richard Dawkins where he says, "The universe we observe has precisely the properties we should expect if at bottom there is no purpose, no design, no evil, no good, nothing but blind, pitiless indifference." Blind, pitiless indifference is shorthand for materialistic worldview. So he's saying the universe we observe has exactly the properties we should expect if the materialistic worldview is correct. Well, that has, in three very important respects, proven to be incorrect. One of the great discoveries of 20th century science was that the material universe had a beginning. And you may know something of the story. This started in the 19-teens and 20s. Astronomers began to use these great big dome telescopes. Edwin Hubble was one of the first, and he was using the 100-inch Hooker telescope at Mount Wilson in California. And through that telescope, and with the use of new photographic plate technology, he was able to resolve little tiny points of light in the distant night sky, which had been somewhat mysterious before. People didn't know whether they were, astronomers didn't know whether they were stars with gas around them within our galaxy or whether they might be galaxies in their own right. And what Hubble discovered, to make a long story short, is they were not only galaxies in their own right, but they were galaxies that were expanding outward in every direction of the night sky. And I had the opportunity here in Dallas in 1985, when I was very early in my career, to attend a conference that discussed the evidence about the origin of the universe. And one of the scientists there was Alan Sandage. Sandage was he was a student of Edwin Hubble. He'd been very involved in verifying the expansion of the universe outward from a singular beginning point, from a creation event. And at the conference, he announced that he had become a Christian, which was shocking to the audience there. It included some of the other cosmologists and astrophysicists were people like Carl Sagan's science advisor, Donald Goldschmidt. And Sandage explained how the evidence of a beginning to the universe had shaken his materialistic faith. And eventually that led him to soul searching and to a full religious conversion. And what he said about it was extremely memorable to me. At the time, he was describing all the evidence for this beginning point past which you could not go any further back. And he said, here is evidence for what can only be described as a supernatural event. There's no way this could have been predicted within the realm of physics as we know it. Hard-bitten scientific materialist changed his worldview in response to one of the great discoveries of 20th century science, that the material universe had a beginning. Second great discovery, this in physics more than just astrophysics or cosmology, and that is that from the very beginning of the universe, the fundamental physical parameters of the universe, the laws of physics, what are called the constants of physics, and the initial condition of the matter and energy at the beginning of the universe, all these fundamental factors were very, as the physicists say, finely tuned to allow for the possibility of life. By fine-tuning, they mean that these physical parameters are balanced on a razor's edge. They fall, if you're an engineer, within very fine tolerances, outside of which life would be impossible, and even basic chemistry would be impossible, such that you can't say that the evolutionary process evolved to take advantage of the finely tuned parameters. We had to have fine-tuning for any kind of evolution of any kind to be possible at all, and still more for there to be life. And so many of the great physicists of the 20th century and our century have been talking about our universe as a kind of Goldilocks universe. There's a major book out right now by a young astrophysicist named Luke Barnes called The Fortunate Universe. And the idea is that all these different parameters, and you could think of a kind of universe-creating machine with dials and knobs to get the idea across, each one representing one of the physical parameters. Each one of those dials, knobs, or sliders is set to a very precise value, again, such that if you moved it one click this way or that, you'd get a catastrophic consequence that would make life impossible, a heat death or a collapse into a giant black hole, that sort of a thing. So one of the physicists who discovered some of these parameters, Sir Fred Hoyle, said a common sense interpretation of the data suggests that a super intellect has monkeyed with physics as well as chemistry and biology to make life possible. You may have heard me say before that I always love the way the monkeys make it into the origins scenarios, even in physics. Okay, last big discovery, third big discovery, and that is, we'll talk a lot about this tomorrow morning, so I'll cover this very quickly, but to me this was the one that rocked my world. It was the discovery of the digital code stored in the DNA molecule, that at the foundation of life, we have a molecule that literally stores information. And you may know a little bit of the story. Watson and Crick elucidate the structure of the DNA molecule in 1953. In 1957, 1958, Francis Crick, working on his own, formulates something called the sequence hypothesis, in which he realizes that the chemical subunits running along the interior of that famed and beautiful double helix molecule, those subunits are functioning like alphabetic characters in a written text or digital characters in a section of machine code. And that has raised an extraordinary question, which is, where did all that digital information come from? Bill Gates has said that DNA is like a software program, but much more advanced, far more advanced than any software we've ever created. That's a highly suggestive remark because we know that software comes from programmers. And in fact, whenever we see information and we trace it back to its source, whether we're talking about a hieroglyphic inscription or a paragraph in a book or a headline in a newspaper or information embedded in a radio signal or built into a software program, that information has always come from a mind, from an intelligent source, not an undirected material process. So, of course, I've developed this argument in about 500 pages. We're just sketching it right now, but it's one of the three big factors that suggest that a designing intelligence has indeed played a role in the origin of life in the universe. So, three big discoveries. The material universe had a beginning. The universe has been fine-tuned for life from the very beginning, and there is evidence of design in life, in particular, the big infusions of digital information that have been infused into our biosphere since the beginning of the universe. One great historian of science says that the idea that God created the universe is a more respectable hypothesis today than any time in the last 100 years. In my book, I go a little further than that and say that the postulation of a transcendent, intelligent, and active creator, the kind of creator we find in the Judeo-Christian scriptures, provides the best overall explanation for biological and cosmological origins, where everything came from.